Okay, so this is the video with my explanations of my 22 flat mean from the first match week of FMC League 2023. Yeah, so I have to record from such a tripod from like a POV because my main tripod is broken, can't do anything about it. But yeah, without further ado, let me hop straight into the action. So yeah, I hope you can also see the solutions on the screen from the official spreadsheet of the tournament. Yeah, so on the first scramble I got a 20, which was the best result, tied with Cyprian. We both got a 20, the same solution basically, but he found it in a different way, in a slightly different way after DR. So yeah, the scramble looked like this. It had 8 unoriented edges on FB, but you could do the basic EO in 4 moves. Yeah, and it was in general a good scramble, I guess. It had 6 bad on RL and 4 bad on UD. And my story with the scramble is pretty funny, because I kept mistracing, because I was very nervous, and yeah, I misrecognized the EO cases and ended up writing down a lot of different EOs that didn't work, and in general there were at all 19 4-move EOs on that scramble, and I missed like half of them because I misrecognized the case. There were several 4-move EOs on UD, on inverse, and I didn't find any single one of them because I thought that the 4 bad edges were placed in different places. So but I ended up getting a 20, so I guess not that bad after all. So yeah, it was often 5-move EO, so I had a lot of time to check 5-move EOs since I didn't know about the existence of like 10 4-move EOs, which is pretty funny. But yeah, the EO in my solution was 5-move EO on FB on normal, and yeah, I believe that if you get this EO, you get a 20 basically, if you're at a certain level of FMC speed cubing. So I did an F to solve all 4 bad edges on the front side, and then you can finish the EO by doing either L prime DB or D prime L prime B. But I did B2 and placed these 2 bad edges here, and then U, R prime and B. And that gives an AO in 5. It also gives a square, but I think that I didn't even notice it during my attempt. And I tried doing R as my RZP. And now I noticed a very good case like DR trigger, where you have these 2 blocks, this one corner and one corner on the U layer. And I just looked at the E-slice, these 2 edges, and I realized that they were placed perfectly. So it's gonna be a domain reduction 10 moves. So I do F2 and R2, U, L, and yeah, it was like the first DR I checked on the scramble. So I started like checking the corner case and the QT case. So I use hyper parity, and that's bars, so 2 bars and 1 bar here. And here I like did the blindfold corner tracing because I'm very fast very fast in terms of being an FMC solver in blind memorization, since I also do a lot of blind, so it's an odd number of corners. So I knew it was free QT, and was a very good HDR subset because it's 1 bar and it's 2 corners off and 2 edges off. So I actually ended the DR with L prime to have this corner here, this edge here, and the same situation like on the D layer. And yeah, from this position I know like HDR case you do U prime to reduce to QT, and now you just create like F2 to connect this square R2, and you have this to like J-perms. I call it J-perms because yeah, it's like 2 J-perms of pieces that are of HDR, and then you finish the HTR. Yeah, so you could do R2 here or L2, and then you have a lot of ways of finishing it, but I did R2 and then U prime, and you could do R2 B2 D prime, which is actually what I did first, but then the HTR is not so good, so I switched to L2 F2 and U prime. It's HTR in 17, and now I see, wow, just slice and 2 more moves, so 19 to slice. And I immediately checked if there was if there was +0 to solve the cube in 19, but unfortunately there wasn't. So yeah, I just retraced to the beginning of the domain reduction, and here instead of doing U prime, I did like this slice, and then oh, I miscrumbled actually. Never mind. I hoped this wouldn't happen, but I'm just gonna solve the DR one more time. So I did U prime F2 R2, and then instead of U prime, I did like this, I guess, and then this and this, yeah, and HTR, and now the HTR is in 18, and you just solve the cubes in 2 more moves. And what's also funny about the scramble is that I had a completely different independent 21. So like the third best scramble, as you can see here, is 22. So like I had 20 and a different 21 that I will post in the description. I don't want to talk too much about the 21 since that's not my main result in this attempt. So I did on inverse EO and then switched and did an EO in 5 on normal, and I wouldn't have found this EO if I had correctly recognized the EO case on the inverse, because I would simply not have time for that. So very, very lucky for me to have these 5 move EOs that actually were very good, instead of having like mediocre or medium good 4 move EOs. And it paid off during this attempt, but it may well have not paid off, and then I would have been screwed. But yeah, the first attempt of my main was very, very good in terms of the result, of course, not the edge case recognition, etc. So I was really glad about it. I found it in like half an hour, so I had a lot of time to like chill or look for 19. But yeah, I didn't find a 19. I could have actually found a 19. I could have extended the DR in 11 to DR in 13 with the finish, with a finish in 6 more moves. So I'm talking about the DR that is in the description about this independent 21. But yeah, so my rival in this Matchweek 1 was Chong Wen from Singapore. And I thought that a 20 would be a perfect start, especially that he, of course, I didn't know his results during my attempts. I only knew them after I ended my attempts. So he got a 23, I believe. Yeah, here's his 23. So I had 3 moves of advantage at the beginning of the match, but I ended up losing them in by 4 moves. Because he got an 18 on the last solve, yeah. But I'm gonna get to the last solve in several minutes. So yeah, but here are also the results of the Matchweek 1. I have got the best losing average, apparently. And in terms of solely the averages, Chong won with 20.67. And then Cyprian with 21.67 here, and then me and Radek, we tied for the 3rd place, and Jay came 5th. But yeah, the rankings don't matter. The only important thing is that you win a direct duel, and I didn't. But yeah, nonetheless I'm really glad about the 20, and yeah, let's move on to the second scramble. Okay, so the second scramble was definitely the best scramble of the whole mean. It had a bunch of 3 move EOs, plenty of 4 move EOs, and so on. and my like form on such scrambles depends really on whether I find anything good really soon. And here, like, I pretty much did, but I also kind of didn't because I choked my DR. Yeah, but I'm not gonna talk about other people's results. You can see them and analyze them from the link to the official spreadsheet that I put in the description. And yeah, I'm only gonna focus on my solution and what I did wrong. Yeah, and I prefer to keep these videos of my means like in the form of a rant rather than a serious analysis, because you can always check all the results in the spreadsheet. Yeah, but having said that, let's jump straight into it. So yeah, although there are 8 bad edges on FB, you have a free move EO, so I did that. And it's like 4 bad corners and 1 bad edge in terms of reaching DR. And you can do the domain reduction 9 moves. So D, F2, connect this huge block, this with this edge. So everything lines up perfectly. Then D2. And you can finish the trigger by this or this. So like widen 1 move. And yeah, so you should try both options. Potentially create an HDR on inverse on the other side of the scramble, and then see which finish of this trigger gives like a better case afterwards. So I did this, and yeah, I start recognizing the case. I noticed a lot of blocks, so I already thought that it would be a pretty good case. And it's one more time bars, 1 bar, because like bars and 1 bar here. And but this time I traced an even number of corners of targets, like so. It's for a QT, which can be pretty bad, but it also can be pretty good. And in this case, it's really good, since it's only 2 corners off. All the edges are solved in terms of HDR. So there's a really cool trigger for that. So yeah, I switched to the inverse of the scramble, and on the inverse, the 2 corners are placed here. So what you basically do to solve HDR from this case, you insert like a commutator. So the cube is an HDR apart from these 2 corners, similar to this case, and you just do this, basically, like without the last move. But yeah, you just do this, and you can start either by U prime or U. So one is going to give you the HDR, the other one is not. So yeah, I tried, and it turned out that U gives HDR, then this, and then so it would have not given HDR in the shortest path, but I tried to like build a longer HDR here. So I played around with the cases. You can build a lot of HDRs this way, and yeah, I just do the HDR, and I see that's a really good HDR. You have this square, you can build like pairs, squares, and here I just noticed that it's sliced in 23. So that I found really quickly, and it was +0, fortunately. So a 23 total result. I'm not gonna show the slice because it's just basic slicing to 20 from a 23 to another 23. And yeah, but what I'm gonna show you is what I missed actually. So I hope that you can see my screen now. I don't know how to point the camera, the POV, but yeah, here are the 21s that won the scramble, and yeah, I had this exact DR, and here it ends like not this, but this. So yeah, but I obviously tried that, so I should have found it. And then Radek reduced to 3QT on the inverse, but switched right back to the normal of the scramble. I probably also did that, but then didn't do this and so on. So I didn't check everything on this DR, so that cost me this 21. But I also didn't spend that much time on it, since I felt that I could find a better DR, and there were also 21s, various 21s to slice from another 9+3 this time, of the same EO, I believe, but yeah, I'm not gonna show it because that's not my solution, and you can see that yourself in the spreadsheet. So yeah, what's also funny for me is that the best scramble, but the worst result in terms of the best result of all 3 attempts. So on the first scramble, the best was a 20. Here's 21, and I believe I already said that on the last scramble, the best the best result was an 18. Actually, 2 18s by 2 players, but yeah, 18. So yeah, I don't really have anything more to say about the scramble. I know that I could have like shown what I exactly did more thoroughly, but yeah, I'd rather keep it in the form of a rant. And yeah, if you want to see like the constructions and other solutions, as I already said many times, you can see them in the spreadsheet. So yeah, let's move on to the last attempt. Okay, so let's move on to the last attempt of the min, and there's going to be a lot of switching on that one. So my final reconstructions in the first 2 solutions only contained 1 switch in total, and here I switched a lot, so I'm gonna have to show all that here. And yeah, let's just scramble the cube, and while I do that, I can say one more time that the scramble, 2 people found 18s on the scramble, and I'm not gonna show it. You can see that in the sheet, but the second best result, like the third best result actually, were a bunch of 23s, so I tied that with a lot of different people. And yeah, so this scramble had, let me just look at the cube because I didn't even remember anymore, 6 bad edges on FB, and then 6 bad edges on RL, and yeah, 6 on UD, so 666. And what I ended up doing was doing an F to reduce these 3 bad edges, and then you have 4 bad edges left on FB, and yeah, I mistraced that they will be placed here, 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 and here on the inverse. So you can do the EO F switch UDF, and that's what I did. So I switched UDF. Yeah, so I obviously tried F to like switch these 2 bad edges into these 2 bad edges, but I didn't find anything of that. And my tactic basically for the scramble was to switch on every form of EO I had, because there were not that many form of EOs here, and yeah, I also didn't find anything interesting of the 5 of EOs. So yeah, I did this, and I looked for RSPs on the inverse, but yeah, I found that, I remember, 3-1, but yeah, nothing more interesting of that. So I switched, and I'm here on the normal after EO, and then I tried like again the first piece, and I found this UR, and it's 4-2, 4 corners, 2 edges, and you can do L2 to connect this. And then the E slice is placed really well, so I did D2 and L2 D prime L, and it was basically the only good DR I found during this attempt, which is a shame. But I really struggled during this attempt with finding good stuff, so I was happy that I found this DR. Okay, so I had to cut because I didn't know what was going on. I wrote in my reconstruction that this DR was 11 plus 1, but it's obviously plus 3 quarter turns to solve corners. So yeah, it's bar/1 bar 3QT. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about how I recognize that it's 3QT, but it is 3QT. And yeah, here I look at the cube. I'm not really that good at immediately knowing what the HDR algorithm is going to be in such subsets, so I just do random moves, to be honest, and look if it reduces to 2QT, for example. So yeah, U reduces, for example, and yeah, it's now 4C4E, so pretty good, I guess. But I tried that, but what I ended up doing was trying that on inverse, and here I did U on the inverse, and it's bar/bars 2QT, and it's 4C and 2E. So yeah, I guess I prefer to work on 4C2E and 4C4E. And here, yeah, I tried doing like HDRs, I guess. That's not HDR, but yeah, I guess the other way of doing that would have given HDR. But yeah, I didn't end the HDR on the inverse. I switched back to the normal descramble, and here you have this case where you have these two like blocks, this corner, so basically the same case as in the first scramble, but there I was doing DR with this case, and now it's HDR with this case, so it's like very similar in terms of how it's placed. And the shortest way would have been like this, but then it's fake, so you have to connect this corner to this block, not this one. You have to extend it by one move, but then you get HDR. And it's HDR in 18. And here I see these two like blocks, and you can solve the slice. And I did this firstly, it's 22 to slice, but you can connect these two pairs to this block, like firstly this pair here, and then this one here, and this one does not cancel with the inverse, yeah, because I did U on the inverse, and the first slice ended with U2, and this ends with R2, so it's 23 to slice plus 0, and the first slice doesn't plus 0, so yeah, I found it by looking at the slice in 21 and actually connecting these pairs to the square like in the other order, and this gave me a 23, and it was a very nervous attempt. I can even show you. That's my notebook with all the attempts I do. Like, obviously I had a lot of notebooks before, but yeah, that's this one, and I crossed out a lot of things here. I was beginning to run out of time, and yeah, I had to rush, but I ultimately found it, and it's a 23. So yeah, that concludes my mean, which is 22.0. I am happy about this mean, I'm not gonna lie. Although I lost, I'm pretty glad with my performance. Yeah, and a lot of people found another 23s. Here's 26, 26. Yeah, and here are the 18s. So yeah, that's the schedule. That's the Matchweek 1. So yeah, I lost here, but my opponent won the entire week, so to say. So I'm not to be embarrassed or anything. It was a really good game. And here's the table, the standings after Matchweek 1. So obviously I have 0 points. So yeah, I am the unofficial world champion now, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna fight with Radek Baran in Matchweek 2, which starts tomorrow. So yeah, another really good opponent for me in the schedule, but obviously I'm not gonna complain. I'm gonna do my best, and next week comes another analysis of my mean. So thank you for watching and listening. I will be very happy to read feedback in the comments, what you would want to me to show more, or maybe do you want me to talk less and show more, or like better structure my analysis. But yeah, as I said, I would rather keep it short. Not short because it's already very long, but I would keep the actual part about the scramble relatively short, and I would talk about the mean, the attempts, my attitude and so on a little bit longer as I did during this video. So yeah, I hope you liked the format of it, but yeah, I'm open to critique. So yeah, I look forward to seeing the videos from other participants of the tournament, and I hope that you learned something new from this video, or at least had a very nice podcast to a morning coffee. Goodbye.